So yeah, so it's always great to be able to have this opportunity, because they don't really come about, like have an opportunity to talk about health and well-being and help people and do this. So it's a great opportunity. So before we get going, so I'm going to be talking obviously today about optimizing brain and gut health and why that plays a big role and why it's so important. No matter what part of life you find yourself in, your 20s, in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, 70s and beyond, okay? And the power that we actually have around how we go about improving our cognitive function and our gut health and how it's connected and the possibilities that brings with it, okay, if that makes sense. So that's my speciality, and that's where, well, ever since I've left school, a bit of background on me is it's always been in health, fitness and well-being, whether that's coaching at a football club, whether that's in education, trying to get a whole range of different children to be more active, whether they've got physical disabilities, of learning needs, owning my own gym, lecturing at the local college now, and now with the Strong Life Club, taking it really that next step and really targeting and helping people for that long-term health. So if we can optimize people's health through better cognitive function and better gut health as well. So that's kind of like what I do. And Alice, my wife back there, is going to kill me because I put a picture of her without telling her on the presentation, but I thought I'm going to go for it. So initially, this is what I did, and I still do. You know, people get physical transformations, but really because of the stuff that you don't see, the stuff that we try and do with their cognitive function, their long-term health, with their gut health, and building up better relationships with food, better mindfulness, better sleep, management of stress. This stuff kind of comes with that naturally when we start to address that. But what I wanted to bring your kind of eyesight towards was this particular one, where we were able to help someone get completely off medication, which really for me is the big wins. You know, when you can help someone to not just lose a bit of weight, which is great, which is going to be healthy for them, but when we can help people to really kind of get off medication, get out of pain, enjoying life. And that's really where my work kind of lies now, and to be able to do that on a deep level. Also, it kind of aligns with me because, as I'm sure a lot of people now are coming across dementia, whether that's in the family or they know somebody, whether it's Alzheimer's, has suffered with it. And I want to try and empower you, and hopefully at the end of this you'll feel empowered to be able to make changes yourself, or, which is really awesome, speak to someone who you think can help make a change with them and spread the word, which would be amazing. Okay? So that's that. So I wanted to hit you with a few stats first of all, which I thought this one particularly was quite shocking. So only 1% of the population develops Alzheimer's because of a rare genetic mutation in their DNA. It's 1%. The 99% is through lifestyle and nutrition. And this is just getting worse and worse and worse. The numbers are growing, okay? And as you can see here, it's quite alarming. So today we have around 47 million people living with dementia in the world, in many different forms. It is estimated by 2050 there would be 132 million, okay, suffering with a form of dementia. 99% of that is because of lifestyle and nutrition. So it's I think before we thought it was something a lot with this, which it is. My family have it in their DNA. My mum's side, you know, we've seen nans and great aunts. We've lost them to Alzheimer's. But we do have a lot of power, and we can do something. Okay, and we're going to go into what that looks like. That doesn't really stop there, because then we also start looking at the other big one, which is diabetes. All right, which we all know is one of the big killers, okay, particularly in the Western world. All right, so just in the UK, we've got 5 million people living with diabetes. 850,000 people probably got it, but they haven't been diagnosed yet. All right, so the numbers again are staggering. And this is driving the Alzheimer's and the dementia up. And if those people with diabetes were just to make the tweaks to nutrition, was just to make the slight changes to their lifestyle, they would prevent over a third of dementia. So it's quite alarming. It's running away with itself, and because I'm from education as well, I'm seeing it firsthand. So we're seeing a significant rise in ADHD, we're seeing a significant rise in autism, sleep deprivation, malnourishment, and all of these things are driving people from a very early age to the early onset of dementia, even into their starting to see things in their 30s. Okay, forgetful of names, stats, numbers, travelling in the car and thinking, how on earth did I get here? By which I've done that many times in the past. But that is very alarming. I'm very worried because I see it on a day-to-day basis, being in education still. I can see it. They're not eating well, and whatever they're eating is not nourishing. It's quick, it's easy, it's on the go, it's out of a can, it's out of a crisp packet, it's quick, put together foods. There's hardly any sleep going on because they're completely and utterly connected to technology. I must say this isn't all of them, but it's a vast majority, okay? And they have a poor relationship with food. If I eat more food, I get fat. If I eat, but what then they eat is McDonald's or something quick. So it's very, very alarming, and those numbers are just going to rise and rise and rise. So that's kind of like putting it into perspective. What I wanted to do, and the main area of this talk, was to empower. That's what I wanted to do. All right. This is just 2 years difference in terms of brain size. So the darkness in the brain here is fluid, and also the shrinking of the brain. So this was in a mid-50s gentleman who started to show the onset of dementia, forgetfulness, confusion, and only in 2 years you can see the vast difference in the size of the brain. Okay? Now, even in their 50s, there's a big difference that we can make. There's changes that we can implement to stave off dementia and Alzheimer's up to 10 years. So instead of seeing these signs in your 60s, you may start seeing them in your 70s, which is a hell of a lot better. Okay? So, with all that being said, it's a manageable disease. 99% of the cases are anyway. All right, 99%. So we can do something about it. And I'm a very visual person. I like to put things into columns. Okay, so today we're going to look at, that's supposed to say nutrition. We're going to look at mindset and lifestyle and exercise. Oh, it's pushed it down, that's why, huh? Okay. So these are the three main areas that we can have a big impact in and a powerful impact. The vagus nerve, has anyone heard of the vagus nerve? Yeah, how it's connected from the gut to the brain. And this is a very interesting area because we've all essentially got two brains. We've got one here and we've got one here in the gut. And only in the last 10 years we're starting to see and start to understand gut health and the microbiome and all the bugs that we've got living inside of us and how important they are to drive us to good, empowering and happy life. And we need to look after them. Okay? One of the biggest problems we're facing though is we're living in an age of processed and ultra-processed foods. Okay, so things are packaged, things are put together, things have gone through a process within a factory to stay on a shelf for longer. Okay, and I particularly feel sorry for my nan and granddad's generation who, were born in the early 20s, mid 20s, got through the war on rations, home, food out the garden, very, very clean food, if that's what you want to call it, very calorie dense food from the earth. And then all of a sudden after the war into the 50s, they got this ability to bake at home and cooking oils that they could start to use. And it all started to change, all right? And as time has gone on, this processing of food has got worse and worse and worse, all right? So we're able to get food on the shelf and it can stay there for longer, doesn't degrade. And the vast majority of our nutritional input for a lot of people is this processed food, highly processed food, whether it's quick snacks, whether it is takeaways, whether it is certain poor quality breads, chocolate, sweet foods, sugary, high sugary foods, all very highly processed foods, okay? But we also know if we feed the gut well, it's connected to the brain. So if this gets sorted and we can start feeding the gut, the brain starts to come along with it, okay? All right, but we are living in a world of highly processed and ultra processed foods, and that is one of the biggest problems that we're facing. So where should most of our food intake come from? Which I'm sure most of you in this room are clear on, but let's just get a little bit deeper into this. So I want to give you some kind of things to shoot for, start to implement, start to become more aware of. So the first one is we want to have a diverse range of vegetables. And why? Well, with this gut microbiome, these healthy bugs that are living inside our gut, okay, they feed off good quality foods. They thrive with quality foods, particularly vegetables. Okay, anything from the earth, out the ground, off a tree. And the more that we can get into our bodies, the better that microbiome is going to thrive. Okay, everyone heard of leaky gut here at all? So leaky gut is basically, and a lot of people are suffering with this, where this microbiome is not thriving because of the poor quality food that's coming in, because of high stress, we can't forget that, and lifestyle. And particular food particles and everything is getting through the lining of the gut into the bloodstream. And that's why a lot of the time people bloat, why a lot of people have poor focus, can't get out of bed in the morning, have no energy, okay, start to feel depressed, okay, because certain food particles and things out of food have got through the gut lining into the bloodstream. Okay, because of the poor amount of microbiome. If you put it into your head, what you want is you want a thriving rainforest in your gut. That's how you want it to be. Do you want to come in? Hi, you all right?
Yep, thank you.
Take a seat. So we want our gut to be thriving. We want it to be like a rainforest. We want it to be buzzing, full of creepy crawlies. As horrible as that might sound. Okay? And the way that we start to do that is a diverse range of vegetables. Okay, so as many different colours as we can. And one of the nice little things I set my clients is every time you're prepping something, can we get at least 4 to 5 colours on the plate? And it just naturally starts, when you're prepping something, pulling something together, you just naturally start to go, I need a bit more colour here. Let's grab a pepper. Yeah, let's grab something that's green. Yeah, let's grab something that's yellow. All right, use your herbs, use your spices, okay, because all these things are going to get these microbes to thrive, okay? Another nice thing I like to set people is a weekly range of 30 plants. Do you want to come in? Now, for a lot of people, that might sound like a lot, okay? But if you start thinking about vegetables, if you start thinking about fruits, particularly like berry-based fruit, again, colour is naturally coming into our nutrition, all right? You can start to very quickly build that up. And then you start thinking about nuts, seeds, beans, again, anything that's come out of the ground, anything off a tree. Then you start thinking about the herbs and the spices. Alice, my wife, will shout at me because I'll make something and it ends up like a chili, just because I put cumin in it, or I put turmeric in it, or I've put something in, I've just bunged it in, you know. So you can quite easily start to bring that vast range of different plants into your diet. Now there's particularly dark leafy greens, and why? Because it's got a vast range of vitamins and minerals, and it's got phytonutrients in there which are really great for these gut microbes. Really, really good, and it helps it to thrive as well. And again, this is all relaying back to the brain, okay? Now don't forget your fats. And again, just like carbohydrates, I think, over the last few decades have taken a bad rap. If we eat fats, we automatically think, for a lot of people, we get fat. Now these kind of fats, we're looking at omega-6s and omega-3s. So we're looking at fish, good quality fish. We're looking at extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil has not really gone through a process. Yes, we've got olives, we've crushed them down to create this oil, but it hasn't been added to at high heats or anything like that. We're looking at avocados, eggs. And if you're worried about eating too many eggs with cholesterol, you can, that isn't true, all right? Where 75% of cholesterol we make, our body makes it already, all right? So don't worry about consuming eggs. But omega-6s and 3s are great because let's say we have an accident. The omega-6s are great for protection of the brain. It reacts, it goes, I've got to look after the brain. Okay, and then the omega-3s come in and go, right, can we sort this out? Can we get rid of all this trauma? Can we fix the problem? So don't neglect your fats, nuts, seeds, fish, eggs, extra virgin olive oil, avocados. And again, with all those things, you've got colour coming in, okay? Protein, okay? And the reason why I love protein is because it's restorative, it protects. Now, one of the biggest things we're facing as we get older, what do we hear a lot of older people doing? Falling over. Yeah? If people fall over, they sit down more. The issue then is other things start to come in and we can start struggling with. So, heart disease. We start putting weight on because we can't move around. All right? So, if we can eat enough protein, if we can have a protein within each meal, okay? Now, it doesn't matter if you're vegetarian. Have we got any vegetarians here? Yeah, lovely. Okay, so we're looking at tofu, we're looking at beans, lentils, legumes. Anything else, Alice?
Yeah.
That's about it, yeah. And other, you know, even dark leafy greens have got a certain amount of protein in as well, okay? And protein is very satiating. So when you eat it, you feel fuller for longer. Okay, so you're less likely to snack on poorer quality foods as well. So protein is very, very important to keep you moving and to keep muscle mass as long as possible because we don't want it diminishing as we get older. We want to keep moving. Has anyone saw the new documentary? Is it the Living to 101 or Beyond 101? Have you seen that? Yeah, it talks about the blue zones. I don't know if you've heard about the blue zones. There's a lot of blue zones in the Mediterranean, parts of India, yeah. And the reason why they're thriving, not only because of the nutrition, they're doing a lot of this stuff, but they're sitting on the ground and getting up again. They're playing instruments, they're socializing a lot. So they're keeping hold of muscle and they're moving and they're thriving, okay? And when it comes to carbohydrates, we also want to go back to the ground. So we can go potatoes, can we go rices, can we go oats, okay? And be careful of certain oats because we can get oats from anywhere, you know, off the shelf, can't we? And some of the high-end sugars. But if we can get naturally sourced organic oats, the better. And I really like to put the carbohydrates around when we want to consume them. So we want to consume carbohydrates when we're socialising, when we're going out with friends, when we're meeting people, when we're sitting around the table as a family, okay? When we have been active. So if we're going to be active, we want to prepare, we want a bit of energy store, we want to be able to, you know, go and be active, or we want to recover from that activity, post-activity. That's a nice place to start putting your carbohydrates as well. So does that all kind of like make sense? Yeah? And the nice thing is, because I like to push this, the 80-20 rule. Anyone heard of this? Yeah, 80-20 rule. So it pushes us away from the all or nothing mindset when it comes to nutrition. So across the month, can you say that 80% of your nutritional input is coming from those singular ingredient foods? okay? And 20% are coming from those foods you love to eat. I love to have an Indian, go and have a curry. I love to go and have a nice slice of cake. I love all of that, okay? But this is a really nice way to get that kind of balance in play, okay? So that's the nutritional point, okay? Now we're going to start looking at the lifestyle changes. And I honestly do feel that we need to start reconnecting with you, okay? We have so many distractions. We're always connected, whether that's through email, social media, the phone, messaging. We're always being pulled in left, right and centre, okay? And we need to start doing a bit of stress management. We're all going to have stress, okay? We're all going to have those things. I'm going to show you something in a moment that can help you straight away. Scheduling, just simple little things like scheduling time with the family from each week. Do something, go outdoors, be active, be with friends and family. Massive one, particularly with my students, that we're trying to implement a tech disconnection. So disconnecting from any sort of tech, not having something buzzing in your pocket, not having a distraction, having times in the day where you can completely disconnect, okay? Big one, being nature. Now, bizarrely, this may sound bizarre, but being in nature is natural for us to do. We belong in nature, within the, going on walks, being out and about. We naturally take on the atmosphere, things in the atmosphere, and it gets into us, it gets into our gut, and it permeates into our brains. Okay, just being out and about in nature. Okay, you holding a piece of dirt on your hand, it gets into you, it's supposed to, and those bugs, those microbiome inside of us thrive off of that. Okay, it thrives off of it. So being in nature is very, very powerful. Knowing a mission, having a mission. So getting up every day, no matter what you're doing, but having a mission, what is that? Our brains need that. It thrives on learning, finding out, getting through difficult situations, finding strategies as well. Okay, so I really do think we need to reconnect with you. Okay. Now, when do your brain and your gut recover? Does anyone know? Sleep. Yeah, sleep. And this is only a new thing that we're discovering, that as we sleep, our brain and our gut is replenishing. It's getting rid of the stuff it doesn't like, and it's replenishing. It's having the opportunity to get going again, okay? But again, one of the biggest things that most people are struggling with now is poor quality of sleep. So someone might say to you, I sleep very well, but they might not be most likely not getting the quality of sleep that they need, because they're completely connected through phones and emails and career and family and everything else going on, okay? So sleep is really, really important. So optimized sleep quality is a must for brain and cognitive function. So how do we do this? So a very quick thing, I always talk about a pre-bed routine for people, okay? So we can't expect our brains and our bodies to hit the pillow and go to sleep, okay? If you take a baby, you don't take a baby in a bright room like this, put them down with music blaring and expect them to go to sleep. We have to create an environment, we have to create time for the baby to calm down and to get to sleep, okay? So 45 minutes out, half an hour out, whatever time you've got, start to come away from technology, start to come away from glare of TVs, the glare of the lights, phones particularly, any blue light, okay? And one of the big things you can start to implement now that takes no time is breath work. Does anyone do any breath work here? No? You do some breath work. So there's a vast amount of different kinds of breath work that you could do. One particular I like to do is the 4-7-8. So sit on the edge of your bed and you literally take 4 seconds in through the nose, hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8. Everything you've got out the lungs, okay? And you roll through that 4 times, the 4-7-8. Now what that is doing, it's getting your body It's getting your mind just to clear and to calm down, the opportunity to calm down. And then if you wanted to meditate, do some sort of meditation, it's a lot easier to do it then because you've given your brain the opportunity to clear up. That makes sense? So breath work is a great thing you can start to do. You could do it in the mornings as well, all right, if you've got a lot of stress going on, a lot of anxiety. So breath work is very, very, very powerful. And sleep is very, very powerful. We need to get quality of sleep. That's me and Arthur. I put that in because having a dog is very good for your cognitive function. As a companion, but also the dog brings the outside into your house, which may sound horrible, but again, it's great for your gut microbiome, it's great for your brain, okay, and so it's all very, very supportive. Me trying the 80-20 rule here, that's my 20% there. What time we got? Am I running over time?
3.
Oh, I'm going to keep going. On to exercise. Now, exercise for a lot of people can be a big barrier because they think, well, I've got to have this amount of time, I need to be this level of fitness to be able to get going, and it's simply not the case, okay? There's a few things I want to draw your mind to when this is going to be supportive for your cognitive function. It needs to be progressive. So whatever you are doing, can you progress it? You're not just going through the motions. Your brain is like a muscle. It needs to be challenged, okay? It needs new connections. How am I going to figure this out, okay? Easiest way to do that, I like, in my methodology of training, is through resistance-based training. Why? Because you've got a selection of different exercises you can do. You've got different rep ranges, sets, how many sets you're going to do, the tempo, the frequency. So with resistance-based training, you've got many different ways to be progressive. Okay? You're also going to be supporting your muscle mass. If you remember earlier, I was talking about how important muscle is. All right? Resistance-based training is going to do that. Now that might be with a weight. It may be body weight. It may be you doing some sitting down to a chair 10 times, okay? And next week you do 12. It's progressive. So it's about finding your level, okay? And being with others, communicating with others is fantastic as well. And prioritizing muscle, as I've said, is really, really important. Now that doesn't have to be resistance-based training. It could be a martial arts. You're having to figure out, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to adapt? I've got to learn this new movement. It could be dance, okay? Because it's progressive. It's a new movement. You're doing it with others, okay? So that's something to think about when it comes to exercise. An example, you could do 2 resistance-based sessions a week. 1 cardio, so you're looking after your cardiovascular, your heart once a week, and daily movement is managed. So every day, can I get outside? Can I be in nature? Okay, and it's not to say you've got to do 10,000 steps. It may be just doing a bit more than what you're currently doing. Okay. I'm a big fan of Seneca, so this is just something to hopefully empower you. Okay, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. And I really do think that is very, very true, even though he must have said that 2,500 years ago. Any questions? I've just blitzed through that, sorry.